All right, joining us now here on In the Circle on D1 Softball, powered by 643. A first here in the history of In the Circle. We are first joined, of course, by the head coach of Oregon State, entering her 14th season, which is a while, but she's been on many a times with us. Of course, the most accomplished Olympian softball player of all time, three-time gold medalist, a four-time All-American, four-time Olympian. You know the resume. She led Oregon State to the World Series a couple of years ago. I speak of our good friend Laura Berg joining us, but she's got a friend with her, one of her new assistants, and of course, former teammate on the '04 Olympic team. She was a three-time All-American herself, one of the greatest players of all time. I speak of Jenny Topping joining us here. Both of you, thank you, ladies, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us. I'm gonna make a correction though. She's a four-time All-American.
Well, you're four. Get that get the bio updated there. We got to get the bio updated here. Both of you
right.
four. All right, I was trying to lean there.
I get to brag about her. She's my coach.
Rightfully so. All right, let's talk. That's a lot. That's a lot of Americans between the two of you here. Let's talk first. How the idea of you two reuniting here at Oregon State, starting with you, Coach Berg. How did this all come about?
Yeah, I think when the last season started, usually in the fall around this time, JT became the assistant or the volunteer coach at Cal State Fullerton. And she kind of reached out to me and said, at the end of the year, if there are any positions that you see opening up, please let me know. And I was like, okay, great. She wants to get into D1. I know she did a lot of lessons around in the Northern California area and then moved to SoCal. And so, I was kind of just keeping my eyes open, and then happened to lose two of my coaches. And so that's kind of how it came about.
Jenny, what was it like from your perspective?
That sounds about right. Anytime I can reunite with one of my good friends, someone I respect highly for not just her, athletic achievement, but who she is as a person and all the greatness she's done on the field, as a coach. It's nice to be able to reunite and, see what happens, right?
Was it like automatic? I mean, I guess maybe my question should be, what took so long, right? Like, why was now the right opportunity versus maybe, were there previous opportunities and it just wasn't the right time? What was it about this that this was the time for the reunion? So I'm sure you two have talked about it.
I could say from my perspective, I just wasn't at the time wanting to get into the college game. So that's really what it comes down to is, she and I still stayed friends after playing. And, I went on to open a facility and take that route and played into my 30s. And so there just, there wasn't the opportunity.
Changed your mind about getting into the college game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think that, again, Laura and I have had the opportunity to kind of get to know each other again, from the perspective of who we are today. And I think that we're going to create some magic in just growth. I think that we were, I can speak for myself. I respect her a ton, and I want to learn so much from her. And I think from that space, there's lots of growth opportunity.
Now, Coach Berg, obviously, this ain't the only move in your staff, so I will let you kind of explain the moves you made. You mentioned you lost two coaches. You've added new coaches. Just talk about what Jenny brings to the table as a coach, and then kind of how round out your rest of your staff.
Yeah, what Jenny does is she brings up my weakness, not brings it up. She covers my weakness, and my weakness is the empathy part. I have, oh yeah, your arm hurts. Well, throw the ball anyways, or, oh, your knees are skinned up from diving. Well, get back up and dive again. I don't have the empathy. And so I'm learning and I'm growing in that aspect of the game. And so I think what coaches, tend to do is they hire people who will challenge you, and Cover your weak side, cover your blind side. And that's exactly what JT does. Obviously, being a part of the Olympic team and being teammates, she played in Japan and bringing that experience from playing in Japan, I think will help our players and our team do things that we've never done before. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm a little bit more hyper and bouncing off the walls and, just like, and JT kind of just is like this, brings this to them. And so I don't freak the players out with my intensity and my excitement and 12-year-old self. And so that's what I'm looking forward to the players being around and seeing that. The other staff member I brought in is Morgan Scott, who takes care of the people in the circle. And so I'm excited to work with her. I had to compete against her when she was at the University of Oregon. And so I'm excited to see what she brings from her playing experience and her coaching experience.
All right, Coach Toppy, what's it been like being around Coach Berg once again, being around Coach Berg this time around?
You know, it reminded me why we were such good friends as teammates. I think that we bring out the lightheartedness in each other. She lightens me up. She brings out the playfulness in me that sometimes I have just lacked in, areas of my life. And so she brings a lot of joy to my life. She reminds me to keep it fun and which, I'm a big fan of fun, but I think there's a lot for us to uncover together now as a coaching staff, and it's just starting to unfold now.
What's been the process like for you, Jenny, getting to know the players? Obviously you're getting used to Coach Berg's style, but also the rest of the staff style. But the players, what has that been like getting to know each other, getting to know Corvallis?
Yeah, last year I had the opportunity, like I said, to step into volunteer at Fullerton, and I really recognized that how much I enjoyed working with college athletes, their perspective and the amount of, growth and their growth capacity on and off the field is there's so much potential. And so um, I respect all the coaches that we have and our coaching staff, and we're just beginning to build the foundation of, trust and loyalty and with the athletes and with the coaches. I believe that respect is earned and I want them to know me, and who I am as a human and as well as, who I am off the field and on the field. And I want to know them in that regard as well so that they can feel safe, because there's a lot of vulnerability in the game. So, it's been fun so far. We're playing with hula hoops and get candy and all kinds of pranking and, all of the fun things that Laura Berg brings to the game as a coach.
Oh, there you go. Uh, Coach, what's it been like? Because you know your players. How much have you talked to Coach Topping, even Coach Scott in advance about the players you have? But how much also do they just want to find out on their own with their own eyes about and evaluating the players?
Yeah, so the coaching staff has been together longer than we have with the team. So
Right.
we've been together for about a month. Practice just started this week, so today was day 4. And so I give them bits and pieces of what to expect when they come in, and then they kind of just learn on their own and take in what they take in when they're working with them.
Now, by the way, I now understand why I miswrote. You were a 3-time first-team All-American, a 3-time Big West Player of the Year, that 4-time All-American. You have a lot of threes in your resume, Coach Topping. That's a lot of threes. But you mentioned you're two of the greatest players ever. I'm curious, when's the first time? Do you remember the first time you two met?
Hmm.
I remember this is what I first remember of JT. I was coaching at Fresno State and she was at Fullerton playing. And I remember scouting against her and watching her hit a ball from the Fullerton field when she was actually at Washington, but playing at the what was it called? The Kia at the time, or was it
Mm-hmm.
the Pony when you played?
I think it was the Kia then.
The Kia. She hit a ball in the Arboretum. And I remember thinking, holy crap, this kid can hit. And then I remember that same year, actually, she was at Fullerton. So this was a couple years later. She was at Fullerton coming to Fresno for regionals.
Do you remember that, Jenny?
I do. I do. I do. I think that it was something in the regards of I think that we went 3 balls, 2 strikes, and then there was some sort of delay, and then we came back to the game, and I think we went deep in the count again, and then yeah. So yeah, I remember seeing her coaching, but really, through the summers with the U.S. team is when um I really started to get to know her. And, she's 5 years older than me. So you would think that the age gap would create some sort of division. And I think that we quickly became fast friends. She's someone that's open. She doesn't have any, ageist where, you're beneath her because she's younger than you. And we just quickly started building a trust of kindness and playfulness, and we really wanted to create joy on and off the field, and those are a lot of the times that I remember with her.
Now, Laura, we've talked in the past with your teams. They're aware of your success as the Olympics. They've asked about the medals. You've shown the medals to some of your teams over the past. Has that, in the short since Coach Topping was hired, has that been brought up by the players yet to Coach Topping? Are we still looking forward to that? What is that gonna? How is that going to go take place here? If they ask questions, are they asking questions?
Yeah, that hasn't come up yet.
Okay, still under the radar. Okay.
I mean, they know that she's an Olympian. They know her accolades. They just haven't asked any questions yet. I think they're just kind of waiting to kind of get the vibe and find out. I think they're probably maybe afraid to find out stories that, maybe about, their head coach. And maybe get some scoop from Coach JT. I don't know.
Well, you even told me, though, some of your players, it took a while for them to ask you about, hey, can I see the gold medal, or one of them, right? Wasn't that the case?
Yeah. It takes them a little bit of courage.
That's pretty good. So, Jenny, take me through the process of making that '04 Olympic team, which to me is the greatest the softball team ever created. It's one of the most important teams to me. I've always compared it to the NBA Dream Team in '92. You were on the cover, Sports Illustrated. I know we've talked to Laura in the past about it. She has the cover. You still have the cover, right?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Not even a question. She's got cover. What was that experience? Take me through that process for you, because that was a significant moment for you.
Well, I have to actually take it back a year, because this is a funny story that we tell. In 2002, the summer of my junior going into my senior year, we have tryouts for a world championship. I had just made the team, and we're the next day at practice, and we're working rundowns between third base and home. And Laura Berg just happens to be the runner. And I'm chasing her back to third, go change of directions, and tore my ACL. So we joke about the fact that it was her. She snipered me in regards to why I tore my ACL. But no, she was not the catalyst. But we joke about her speed as well. I was trying so hard to catch up to her. So, going into my senior year of college, my 5th year of college, I was recovering. So I didn't spend any time, catching. So within the last few month or so of finishing my senior year, I had the opportunity to kind of get back into the squad a little bit, and transitioned right from there into, making the Olympic team. And, the moment you see the email it was one of the greatest moments of my life, to get the opportunity to play with some of the greats that I've, admired for most of my career. So I think it shows that, this game doesn't come without adversity, and you have to, fight to some degree if you really want what you're going for. So, and from that moment on, we just continue to create memories. I always say that I'm not really sure what some of the scores of the Olympic Games are, but I do remember some of the most amazing pranks that Laura Berg and I and a couple other teammates performed on our other teammates. And those are the memories that, you foster. That and, of course, standing on the podium. So.
And there's a bond that comes with that. So I'm curious for both of you, when this came out, announced that you were going to work together at Oregon State, how many of the Olympians from that 2014 did you hear from?
I don't remember who reached out to me. I think there were 2 or 3 people who did shoot me a text and say, hey, that's awesome. Congrats. You and JT together. Can't wait.
I heard that as well. Yeah.
It's a good number. All right. So let me ask you this, Coach Berg. Describe Jenny Topping, what kind of player she was, for those that maybe didn't get the opportunity to watch her.
She had a cannon for an arm, and she was always calm, cool, and collective when the pressure was on. So when the game was on the line, you wanted JT in the batter's box. She had power. She can go gap to gap, put the ball over the fence, put the ball through somebody. So, and leader, she was a leader behind the plate. She was a catcher. And so she had command presence. And so she would tell you where, she wanted you to throw the ball.
Is that a pretty accurate description there?
Very, very kind.
All right. Describe what Laura Berg type of player that she was.
Oh, I love telling the story about Berg because, again, like I said, there was no, separation between her and any of her teammates. There was no, again, she had 3 medals before I even made the team, right? So there was no division created. The humbleness, the kindness, the acceptance, the respect that she gave to her teammates was, beyond the leadership, was beyond anything else that, you could want for a teammate. But my favorite story I love to tell is, I'd be in the catcher's position and the ball would be foul tipped right over my head as a catcher. And I could hear her in the outfield go, ooh. And that moment, it took me a while to figure out what that was and what the point of it was. But, later on, I believe I probably asked her, or I put together one of the two, that if the ball would have just been squared up just a little bit more, she knew it would have been hit to her. That's the incredible jump that she got on the ball. That's how present she was in the moment. That's how in the zone she was. And the ability to cover ground as an outfielder and, I've never seen anybody cover the ground that she did as an outfielder. I've always said she's the greatest outfielder I've ever seen play. And not because she's my head coach now, but really from a friend perspective. And then her ability for short game and getting on and reading the offense was incredible. So it's one of the best.
Sounds like you studied her a lot as you watched her play. Is that accurate? Did you because that's a pretty good description of her. You're not the first to have said that.
Well, I mean, you spend enough time with each other, right? But truly the thing that she and I have never been competitive with each other. The amount of respect I have for her as a human and as an athlete and as a coach is, beyond anything. I find myself, joking with her and making sure everything's good because I want her to know how much I respect her as a human and as a coach. So.
Did you all have roommates back then? You had to have had roommates, right? Were you assigned roommates?
Yeah.
Who were your roommates?
For about 10 years was Leo, O'Brien, and Miko.
Okay.
And then the last couple of years was Crystal Bustos.
That's pretty good.
I had some really good roommates.
Yeah.
Jenny, who'd you have?
Mine was Amanda Freed, and then it flip-flopped a little bit between Bustos and then Finch a little bit, depending on if Finch had ace. So, yeah.
I wanted to do that. That's an example. It's an insane roster looking back. I think I told you, Jenny, off air. This is you're the 10th player from that 2014 we've had on this show, and I've talked to Mike Cadre as well. I mean, that's it's a who's who. Like when you were during that, what was it like during that moment to be part of? Did you know how special that was at the moment, or was it years after?
I think you spend, when you have one of those moments that it almost feels like you can't put words to it, I think you spend the rest of your life trying to understand. And even that time period of the year before and leading up, I think you spend the rest of your life understanding, how incredible it was, what you were feeling in those moments, how to describe it, the memories that you've created. It's endless from what vantage points you're experiencing life through. It's endless what you can get from that time period. It was just a beautiful time.
Take me that moment when you won the gold. You're at the podium there for both of you. I mean, that's a bond you all will have together forever. I mean, my goodness, you just had the 20-year anniversary of this team a couple of years ago. The Olympics will be back here in 28. We're not going to get into all that. It's going to be in Oklahoma City, even though it's in LA. Coach Berg and I went. She's already expressed her thoughts on that last appearance. But that's going to come up. I'm sure when that comes up, that team will be brought up every time. What is that? What is that? What was that moment like?
I think it's something you never ever forget. I remember standing next to Stacy Newman because our numbers it went numerical order, and so, we're both up there. All of us are up there, and we're singing that the national anthem. You're seeing your flag rise above everybody else's. Your hand is over your heart, and there's tears. There's so many emotions that you want that are running through your body all at once. You want to do cartwheels, you want to cry, you want to jump for joy, you want to, hug your family, you want to, do all these things with the people that, who are along with you throughout the whole process. And so it's just every time I hear the national anthem, it puts me there, up on that podium with my sisters. We worked so hard for so long, and to finally be there, it's an incredible feeling.
The other impressive thing, a lot of the players on that team are still involved in the sport. Both of you included, obviously, on that. But
Mhm.
there's others, many. Coach Newman's coaching, even Coach Kretschmann now involved in the pro game. Kat Osterman has certainly been involved. Jessica Mendoza on the media side. What do you make of that? That a lot of you have stayed involved and contributed to the game from a coaching standpoint, but just being around the game, period, still to this day.
Yeah, I think we've all received so much from this game that we want to give back. We want other young athletes to be able to experience what we got to experience, and going back to what JT said is, the people that you had on our team in '04. It's just you sit back and you think of how amazing some of these women are. We get to say we played with Lisa Fernandez. Lisa. Like she is the best player of all time. And I will go to toe with anybody who disagrees. She not only would beat you physically, she beat you mentally. You had one of the best second basemen, of all time, Lovey Jung. Like, holy crap, watching her do some of the things that she did. I mean, it's Natasha Wiley is shortstop, and it goes down the list. You got Harrigan on the mound, you got Kat Osterman on the mound, you got, Finch on the mound, Leah. I mean, it's just like, holy cow, how you take a step back and think, how lucky was I to be able to be on the team with this amazing group of women.
Jenny, which player like blew your mind away
Well,
as you were on that team? I mean, you heard Laura mention some of the examples. Sounds like batting practice was not a lot of fun.
batting practice was actually fun. We loved taking live on the field. It was really how many stayed in the park was, really the number you could count because, most of us were just tanking them out of the park. It's just home run derby. I think more than just an individual, I'll never forget the cohesiveness of that team. There was a bond, there was a leadership, there was a respect, there was a genuine love for the game. People talk about how many incredible athletes there were, but without that cohesiveness and respect, and genuine love for the game and, really the collective energy that team formed, it's hard to reproduce. because we just all, there was a flow. There was a flow amongst all of us. So, yeah.
What did you both learn? Starting with you, Jenny. What did you learn about Mike Kendrea that you could apply? You apply now to your coaching style. I mean, that's one of the goats and comes in coaching. Being around him, what did you learn from him there that maybe you've applied even now into coaching?
Yeah, I mean, he kept it simple. Um, you know, we are in practice now and we're, implementing some of the basic, ground ball fundamentals of rolling a ball. And, I can't tell you how many times I've worked with, 12U and 10U and, teams, and they're wanting to, work up behind the back, sidearm double play. And, realistically, he kept it simple. And we were constantly focusing on the fundamentals. So simple game.
Yeah, I think for me was the aggressiveness, the green light to steal if you saw a ball in the dirt, green light to steal if you could read a changeup, his down ball reads at third base, things like that, that put pressure on the defense, never made it easy for the opposing team. And I love that style of play. I love it absolutely. Very, very, very much. And the ability to, hey, what do you need to help you be successful? And that's what we got. We got nutritionists and sports psychs and foot doctors and anything that you needed, he provided it for us so that we can be at our best.
Jenny, what got you into playing softball? What grew you got hooked on softball and kind of your journey to get where you got?
I was the kid in the street in the cul-de-sac, playing with a tennis ball and a racket and whatever we could find. If we lost the ball, we would take a couple rocks and get inventive and wrap it with some, electrical tape that we found in someone's garage. I was just that street kid, always looking for the opportunity to play. And, one day my family said, "Hey, you want to play softball?" And it's kind of the end of the story. Wanted to be the first left-handed shortstop, but that didn't happen.
Me too.
Well, I think it all worked out at the end. It all worked out for you.
Definitely.
You're regarded, full disclosure, D1 softball. Depending by the time this comes out, some of it will be aware. There's There's going to be a big feature or content on like some of the greatest players of the All Century list. You're on that list. That's all I'm allowed to say. Take me through that as far as how you built yourself to being the player that you ended up being. How were you able to work yourself to that? Because, like I said, you transferred to Fuller. It wasn't like it was not all smooth. From the beginning. So what was that like? That build yourself to becoming the player that you're one of the greatest players this century, and really forget just this century, one of the greatest players ever in this history of softball.
Well, I'm honored to be, considered in that. And, I think that right off the bat, just being left-handed, I was challenged to really want to be the best because I knew that people were going to see that being a left-handed catcher wasn't, I wasn't capable of doing it. So I think a love for the game. I think that at a young age, I learned to love, I call them the magical moments. I learned to love and look forward to those moments where, there was so much electricity in the air, and I wanted to be the athlete in the box or behind the plate when those moments happened. So I think it was, part of it was just coming in and learning how to manage, like I said, manage those moments. I could override fear. I could override, any negative energy from the crowd, and I learned to sort of hone that in and use the electricity for me and not against me. So, you know.
You mentioned you like working with today's players.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about the today's players that gets you excited to teach them and coach them?
I think that they just have so much talent. I think that, you I think that they have so much ability within them, and they've come into the college level with so much ability and understanding of the game. And it sounds simple, but I think it's just freeing them to play in their most authentic way. And this is one thing that Coach Berg and I are really working on this year, is freeing them to be authentic and play free and let go of and understand those moments that they can really create in magical moments.
Coach, that sounds a lot like your philosophy. You and I have talked the last couple of years. Obviously, there's no secret it's been a transitional time for your program at Oregon State with all the conference realignment stuff. But that sounds like the two. I mean, there's a reason that you two have connected. I mean, you two are pretty much on the same page here.
Yes, because JT has challenged me. She's helping me get better as a coach. As a coaching staff, we want our players to get better. So we have to work on getting better too in all aspects of our game. And so I think what JT has done a really good job is to challenge me, push me. Well, why do you do that? Why, because I'm old school. And so, I got yelled at for making mistakes, or I was so hard on myself for making mistakes. And, so then I would bring that to the field, and, I may intimidate some of my players because of the intensity. And it's like, hey, wait, hold on a second. These kids, they're not old school. They're not old school. So let's challenge that a little bit and make sure they're playing where they aren't afraid to make a mistake. They're not afraid to see, and look at me, have a reaction. And so I'm really working on that. She's challenged me to do that. I again used to be old school of like you take the piercings out and cover up the tattoos. And she's like, well, why are you doing that? You're putting them in a box. Society already puts them in a box. Why are you doing that? And I really had to sit back and be like, it's a great question. Like, why am I doing that? And so that, that has changed. And so, I'm hoping that part, that was about 4 or 5 years ago when I changed, that rule. So, we're growing. She's pushing me to grow to be a better coach.
Is that the 20 plus years of friendship, having played together, having won a goal together? Is that where Jenny, you could tell Coach Berg, hey, I think you should do it this way. This is my thoughts on this, and Coach, maybe this is where you're listening to her more so from that standpoint because of that trust there. That's let me think about that.
I think there's a portal of power that we have access to because of all the time that we've spent together. And, I think when you come in with, with a coaching staff, it takes time. It takes time to get to know, your coaches and all of those things. And that's the luxury that she and I have, is that we've had years and years of time together. And like I said, there's so much respect and love for each other that the safety is already there within each other. The trust is there. And now when you have a safe space and you have trust, it opens the opportunity for real growth, because you're not questioning someone's intentions, and you're not questioning if, they're trying to undermine you or anything of that sort. So I think that there's just a real opportunity for growth on and off the field that I'm super excited for. I'm totally growth mindset. I love to grow as a human. It exhilarates me. So I just think it's a real special opportunity, and I'm very grateful for
it. Coach, let's talk about Oregon State. You mentioned obviously you just beginning practice, so you're still trying to figure out what you have. That being said, it is, what do you hope you have? You think, because you have an idea what you might have. There's obviously things that'll play out in the fall as it goes on and you get to know the team and everything. But just tell us a little bit of what you might have here coming up for the 2026 season, a year that will be your last in the WCC before you go back to the Pac-12. I think I'm saying this correctly.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. All right. So you're my editor and producer, as we've learned on the show. So just take me through tell us a little bit about this group, because I know last year was tough. You had a lot of new faces. You liked the group. It didn't go the way you would have liked, but I think there's some positives that you built towards this year.
Yeah, I think last year what I'm really proud about is, everybody sticking through it and staying here. The year before we had a little bit of PTSD of, everyone hitting the portal, and, you know, um, here nobody wanted to leave. They all wanted to stay. And so I'm pretty proud of that. And last year was just more of me getting to know them and them getting to know me and my coaching staff. And so now that they know me and now they know what to expect, we've got speed, which I'm really super, super happy about, and we've got power. Probably the most power I think maybe we've ever had since I've been here. And so I'm really looking forward to that. Lacey Campbell will be our leader to bring the team together and get them all kind of rowing in the same direction in the boat. And I think we're a little young in the circle, but I think they're going to do really well with Morgan Scott at the helm.
I know you've told me you're not, this whole realignment really hasn't affected you because you're still recruiting the same type of kids that you were recruiting before. Now you're going back to the Pac-12. What is that like now that you're officially going to go back to the Pac-12 after this year from a recruiting standpoint? What's that been like?
Yeah, I'm excited. I get to sell that, obviously Corvallis is a great place to live and to play ball and everybody here loves the black and orange and you know, not being able to have to travel as much as the other programs have to now. We're primarily mostly on the West Coast. The biggest travel will have to be when we go to Texas State, but I mean that's for one weekend. And so, that's something that's really, really easy to sell. We've got some amazing coaches and programs coming into the Pac-12. And so I'm really looking forward to working with these coaches to help build the Pac-12 back into a Power Five conference. I'm also looking forward to competing against them.
Jenny, it's been wild, right? You're getting into this right as there's all this stuff that Coach Berg's dealing with here. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I not only have an incredible head coach leading this program, but I also have a really good friend. And so it can't get any better from that. I'm going to learn quick because, here we go. This is a major school. And thankfully I have quite a bit of Division I time under my belt and game in this, but Bergie's speed, she's fast in all areas of who she is and her growth mindset and, how she runs her practices. She's a go-getter. And so I'm going to be literally chasing her because she walks fast.
That's fast. Do you remember where you were when Oregon State made the World Series a couple of years ago? That magical run where they were one of the, quote, last four in. They win the regionals, super regionals on the road, winning in Knoxville, winning in Palo Alto, and then getting to the World Series. Do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I was having FOMO. I was living in Northern California and I was, you know, cheering her and her program on, but also, probably starting to get the bug of, maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe maybe there's an opportunity that I'm missing in not being a part of the game. And, that probably sparked the beginning of getting to where I am today. So
Ooh, okay. Got the fires going there a little bit. See, look at that. See, impacts there on that moves, Coach Berg. Well, because I'm assuming that's still something you bring up because, despite all this realignment, or you can say whatever, conferences, you're a program that's been to Oklahoma City. I would imagine that is a message as well to the recruits that, hey, you come here, we can get to Oklahoma City. I know it because we've done it.
For sure, absolutely. And the biggest thing here too, what I teach is it's about getting hot at the right time. Get hot at the right time. It happened to my senior year of college. We ended up, beating teams like Washington and Arizona and, winning the national championship. Get hot at the right time. And that's what happened towards the end of that last weekend against Utah, all the way through to the end of the season. We got hot at the right time.
Now, you two are two of the greatest greatest hitters in the history of the sport. So I have to ask, how is the offense? How are you all working together from an offensive standpoint? Do you collaborate together? Like, how does that all work?
always, I think that's what it's all about is, again, when you respect who you're working with, it's always feeding off of each other. Obviously, she has final say in what happens, but the great thing about her leadership is she's open to hearing what your suggestions are and how, what you want to bring to the table. And she's all about implementing, what you have to bring. So
Yeah, I mean, we come together, we talk about what we want to work on, what the goal is during that hitting session. Obviously, JT's going to work with the power hitters because she was a power hitter, a pretty dang good one. And I kind of work with the short game. And if I see something, that I see from a hitter, I'll say something. If she sees something from a slapper, she'll say something. It's not an ego thing. It's not no, don't you touch my slappers. You leave them alone. Don't say anything. It's not one of those things. It's ultimately what comes first is the team and the success of the team and helping them perform at the top level that they can perform at.
What is the key to developing a great catcher, Coach Toppin?
There's you have to have some fearlessness. You have to be able to kind of see the future or be anticipating what the future and of the moment's going to be. You have to be able to read the tempo of the team. You got to know what pace they work at. Are they a team that functions at this pace, or do we work at a little faster pace so that we can recognize when, the pace is off, when we're moving a little too fast. We've allowed the energy to shift too much to the team and they're controlling the tempo. They really are the pitching coach on the field. They're the one that sees everything that's happening. They're the psychologist to recognize if one of their teammates is, struggles holding on to mistakes. A good catcher, can really be a game changer. They look for the opportunity to shift the momentum of a team by, picking somebody off in a crucial scenario. They take chances. You know, there's a lot of things that create a great catcher, but fearlessness is probably one of the most important things because we have to do things fast, intentional, and we have to be okay with launching a few in the center field and knowing that you got Laura Berg out there to back you up.
Right, outfield's got to back it up. That's right.
Yeah.
Allow you to make the confidence there. All right, we've done 45 minutes. I've stalled enough. Berg's been waiting for this for a while now. She's been waiting impatiently, so I will give her the platform as we record this. The New England Patriots, of course, are fresh off a victory over the Miami Dolphins. We are recording this on the eve of the Dolphins about to probably go 0-3 against the Bills on Thursday night. But we'll just focus on your win. You won in Miami for a change. Congrats.
I know.
Million years.
I know. We don't
Jenny,
typically do that.
full disclosure, this has been an ongoing thing for years with me and her for some, Patriots, Dolphin stuff that goes back and forth. And this is why she pushed the interview as quickly as she did, because when the Patriots won, come on. So give me your thoughts. Drake May, Mike Vrabel, year one. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm excited about Mike Vrabel. He did some great things with the Titans, and so obviously he is a great Patriots great, and so I'm looking forward to what he can do. Hopefully he can pull Bill Belichick and get 6 championships. I'm a little greedy, so I'd like to have 6 more with them. So yeah, super excited. Drake May, awesome. Stephon Diggs, incredible. I can't wait. I'm excited.
So
I
you're
just
always
wish they beat the Raiders, man, of all teams. Oh,
who's that partial owner the Raiders have?
I know. Tom Brady.
What about him being in the headset on Monday night there?
Who cares?
Oh,
Who cares? Why do we worry about the small stuff? Who freaking cares? Come on. Come on.
Spoken like a true Brady fan. I love it. Jenny, do you have an NFL team as passionate as Laura has about the Patriots here? Or any sports team?
I knew this question was coming. I'm going to have to be loyalty to the Patriots. I don't actually watch football. I think that Coach Berg invited me and my wife over to watch a game the other day. I'm not sure we're going to get another invitation because we talked through it. And we talked entirely through the entire game because that's how much we watch sports. So.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. No.
I know. I know. I'm a disappointment in that regard.
Yeah, we both agree. We're both smart enough. We don't text each other during the game. That's a big no-no. That's a big. Do you follow any other sports?
Softball.
That's it. Wow, exclusive, locked in. You just locked in. Oh man. So you're just loving this big give and take between me and Coach Berg on the Pats there. Speaking of Belichick, he's in my backyard here this weekend.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Have you sort of, if that hit home that he's coaching college football, that he's in North Carolina, That he's in college athletics like you are, or is that like still kind of blowing your mind away?
I haven't even really thought about it. Honestly, I'm surprised that another NFL team didn't pick him up. I think he's one of the great coaches. We'll see how he handles all the rules that are here at the NCAA. So I'm excited to see what he does and how he does.
He couldn't, who knows? The Dolphins might fire McDaniel and they might go after him. How would you feel about that if he went finished up in Miami?
I still hope we kick his butt.
Oh man! All right. The big thing I take away is you're sold on Drake May though as your future.
I am, yeah, I am
Okay,
absolutely.
all right. You like Brady, the commentator?
I think he does a great job. Yes, he's probably one of my favorite ones over a few other ex quarterbacks. But I think what he does is such a great job is explaining, telling us what he sees. He was obviously a Hall of Famer, greatest quarterback of all time, and being able to see it from his lens and hear it from his mouth. I mean, it's incredible. I love it.
If only Coach Bird would share her opinions, Coach Topping. You notice? I mean, just get out of her shell a little bit.
Right.
Just a little bit out of her shell. No, you deserve that. Patriots win. They played. Well, yeah, I'm not even gonna. You're gonna win in Foxborough later in the year. Who we kidding? Let's talk. Obviously, a couple things before we let you both go. Where you look at college softball today, and the keys to being successful in this climate with the West Coast Conference and then eventually to the Pac-12 here. But let's start. We just focus on this year's team only. What are a couple keys for this year's team that you've got to work on now in this fall that will be keys to having success once the season gets going?
Yeah, I think two things. One, more the consistency at the plate. There was a lot of up and downs that we had last year, sometimes where, the first weekend out we scored 42 runs and then kind of hit a lull. And so it's more the consistency at the plate offensively. And then defensively, we had far too many errors, so we need to really work on the fundamentals and cut that in half.
What's the key to being a good defensive team and coaching defense to young players today that maybe you're thinking offense first in particular? Both of you. I want you both to address that.
Yeah, I think for me, defensively is the fundamentals. You got to have the fundamentals down. You can't, you know, sprint, you have to walk before you can sprint. You have to crawl before you can walk. And so you can't just have P-rods hit at you from the very get-go. You have to get the little ones first. It's when you look at the game, the pitcher's job is to get the hitters to just miss. And so they hit the weak ones, the scribblers and all that majority of the time. So you have to field those ones. Like Coach Topping says at practice, the 1% P-rods that get hit, it's the 1%. And if you make that great play to field that ball, fantastic. But you got to get the other 99% ones. Those are the ones that gets things set up for, the big hit and, 2 runs score type deal. You have to be able to play catch and you have to be able to field the mediocre ground balls.
Yeah, I mean, piggyback right off that, we were just having this discussion today. It's, to me, the goal is to look effortless on the traditional ground ball. The ground balls hit right to you, slightly to your left, slightly to your right, few bounces. Our goal is those should be easy and effortless. We should look like we're moving through the ball, like we're flowing, like we're slicing a knife through butter. And then, then when we get the opportunities to make those $1 million plays, when, there's a lot of electricity in the air, those are bonuses. So if we can take care of, the everyday ground ball with ease and calmness and groundedness and effortlessness, then we can start to really, feel confident tackling those $1 million plays.
Last question. I'm curious. Any chance we're going to get a Coach Berg versus Coach Topping practice where you split the teams up? Any chance?
We haven't even talked about it, honestly. I
Oh,
don't know. We'll see. Maybe when we start to scrimmage, a little, the best 2 out of 3. We'll see towards the end of October.
All right, if you decide to do that, I want
We'll let you know.
play-by-play. I want play-by-play rights to this.
For sure.
It's going to be great. But listen, no, in all seriousness, congrats to both of you. This is so exciting. As a softball geek, I was a huge fan of that '04 team. A huge fan of what you both have done to the sport and meant to the sport. And I'm excited for this story, how it plays out with the two of you there now in Corvallis, reunited together. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us here during your busy time as you get going with the season and everything. But it's an honor to have a chance to talk to both of you and Coach Topping for the first time. Coach Berg, we've done it a few times, but it's a pleasure to talk to both of you there. Thanks for doing this here on In the Circle on D1 Softball.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it. Go
Thank you
Beavs.
very much. Yeah, go Beavs.